Hello, welcome to Cracking the Cryptic. It's Mark here providing the Friday Crossword Masterclass while Simon is on the golf course, and I have the honour to be able to be solving a puzzle by Jason Crampton today, the current Times Crossword editor. And full disclosure, a long-standing friend. We've worked together for a number of years on the Magpie Crossword magazine. Do check that out. But Jason is a fantastic clue writer, and what I'll be doing today is trying to take the opportunity to have a look at Friday's Times Crossword and talk you through how the clues work and how I go about solving them as well. Right, I'm just interrupting myself to mention that we just got a letter that says, sorry for this 11th hour email, but hoping it's not too late to ask for a birthday mention from my husband Gerard. We're both Kiwis, met at university in 1979, celebrated our 40th wedding anniversary last year. Congratulations. Which makes us sound old, but we're not. Exactly. Fit and healthy, laughing and loving, and most pertinently, puzzling. Gerard's a bit discombobulated about entering a decade of double-digit birthdays that start with the number 7. He's a Sudoku solver and wondered why your channel was called Cracking the Cryptic until he came across one of the Friday crossword solves and showed it to me. We were and still are delighted to have you drop in for an hour or so every week. That's a lovely metaphor for how we come into your lives. We love watching you think and chat as you explain, and it's done wonders for my solving. And then Priscilla, who is the writer of this email, has gone into some history about how their puzzling life and their life together began. And it's fantastic. We're really grateful. Gerard is her new solving buddy, basically. And they ask questions like, what's the definition? And what does Simon say about words that could be actions? And they get annoyed when he says it's a good clue and carries on with his Sudoku, leaving me to puzzle some more. Anyway, happy birthday, Gerard. And thank you so much, Priscilla, for writing such a warm email, which I forgot to mention till I got to the end of this video. So I have stuck this in here, which also gives me a chance to mention that if you like the very hard puzzles on Patreon, on our Patreon now, there is uploaded today me solving the Times monthly club special, which is an insanely difficult puzzle that we do every month, and you can see that now. And then maybe at the end we'll have a speed run at the quick cryptic like Simon normally does. Now, I do feel for Simon every day doing the minute cryptic for the last month and a bit more, because the clues there are, well, I mean, one of the words is libertarian. It's the rules governing how or the conventions governing how the constructor puts the clue together are clearly a lot less strict, which does give us a bit of an advantage with our experience with the Times Crossword. So anyway, do have a look at Simon's Minute Cryptic series. It's most entertaining. But I am about to call up this puzzle, number 29483, and have a go at it. Congratulate yourself when you get them quicker than I do. And let's get cracking. So here we go. I'm just going to check that you can see the grid as well as I can. Ooh, maybe I'll shrink myself down a tiny bit. There we go. Okay, so one across. Stingy individual used to be first to pay. Now, I read that as stingy because that is how the surface of the clue is designed. It sounds like a sentence about someone mean with money who nonetheless used to be the first person to pay their share of something. Now, there is another way of reading stingy, and it is not actually a genuine way of reading stingy, but it is a way that would work in the language, and that is stingy. So a stingy individual might be somebody or something that stings. And there is the clue to how to read this clue. We're looking for something that stings. It's not a nettle. It's an organism. No, that's not. It's an animal. Yeah, I can say that. Used to be can translate to was, and the first to pay is the first letter of pay. Now, in minute cryptic, that might say pay first or first pay or something. But when the clues have to be a bit more Zimmernian and say what they mean, in this case, this is the first letter to the word pay. So it specifies that, first to pay. Anyway, that, for some reason letters aren't going in. That gives me wasp, which is the stingy individual in this case. It's a very neatly phrased clue. Classic Jason. Jason is a brilliant constructor. His clues are always very fair, but often very inventive, and we will see that as we go along. So one down. Beat offer to host Queen singer with cracking voice. So that sounds like it's about Freddie Mercury and somebody paying them more than somebody else was offering them. And Freddie Mercury indeed does have a cracking voice, but I don't think that's what it's about. And let's think about Queen. That's often R for Regina or ER for the late Queen Elizabeth Regina. Beat with a W. Could be whip, perhaps. With can translate to the letter W. That's a standard Chambers abbreviation for with. We use Chambers Dictionary and abbreviations within it in the clue, in the puzzle. Beat, offer. Offer could be bid. So if offer was hosting, if bid was hosting R, we would get bird. Right, if beat is whip, this might imply that there is a creature called a whip bird. And I haven't heard of that. There are whippoorwills in America, which are insects. Are they? No, whippoorwills are birds as well, that make noises at night. I think they are. We don't have them here, so I might be wrong, but I think they're birds. So maybe another name for that bird is whip bird. And a singer with a cracking voice would be, rather than a singer with a great voice, which would be British slang cracking. Oh, good to see cracking for cracking the cryptic in there as well. But a voice that's a bird call that sounded like a whip would be a singer with a cracking, would give you a singer with a cracking voice. I think that's probably right, although I don't know that word. 9 across. Who doesn't appreciate attempt to avoid usual price? Well, I think we're looking at, I can immediately think of a 5-letter word beginning with I that would mean someone who doesn't appreciate. And that would be an ingrate. So I'm going to try and work out why attempt to avoid usual price might give ingrate. Well, price could give rate. So attempt to avoid usual. How's that giving ing? I'm not sure. I have to think about this a bit further. Attempt to avoid usual. So a word for attempt which has ing in it, almost certainly at the end. Avoiding a word meaning usual. I can't think of short words meaning usual. We're always looking for short synonyms. Normal, norm, attempt to, an attempt. I don't know. Sorry. I'll come back to that. I'm pretty sure the answer's ingrate, but we'll come back to the deconstruction of that clue, which I have failed to provide you. Right, 12 across. Spooner's excellent dance routine in pool. Well, a Reverend, was it William Spooner? I can't remember what Spooner's first name was famous for Spoonerisms, which involve transferring sounds between the two parts of a phrase. So that's what we will be looking at here. We'll be looking for words meaning excellent dance routine, and then we'll be transposing probably the first letters, and we'll come up with a pool that is 4-5 beginning with a B. I don't know what this is. So the dance routine probably begins with a B, and then excellent will be a word beginning with what ends up at the beginning of the second word and ending with these 3 letters in the first word. I don't know what we're looking for there. Let's try 2 down with S and G. Judgment's epic settlement of considerable significance. Right, one of the words that would fit here is sagacity, which is wiseness. So that could be considered as judgment. If you have good judgment, you have good wisdom, sagacity. So epic could be saga, and then we've got all of this other stuff. Settlement of considerable significance describes a city. And I mean, America and the UK differ slightly there. In Britain, a city is sometimes very specifically a town with a cathedral in it, but other times a very large town. Whereas in America, a city seems to be any habitation of multiple people. And do correct me if I'm wrong about that belief, but I've seen references to cities of 100 people, which just strikes a Briton as quite peculiar. Now, pool. So back is the most likely beginning. Backwater is a sort of stagnant pool, but that would become whack-water or balkwater. That doesn't seem to work. I don't think I've got the right sort of pool there in my mind yet. We'll come back to that again. Let's have a look at 14 across, where we've got 2 checking letters. R something T. Prerequisite for training when making a comeback. 6-6. There's not really enough words in the wordplay for this to be an anagram or something, which would be normal in one of the longer answers, or fairly normal. So I'm guessing from the question mark, which can often mean that we're using a pun or something that stretches the truth a little, that the back end of the clue this time is, let's switch the phone sound off, there we go. The back end of the clue is wordplay, and the front end must therefore be the definition. We've always got the definition at one end or the other. So prerequisite for training, rotten, rather. I'm trying to think of words that fit this pattern that might be involved there. And when making a comeback, if you're making a comeback in conversation, if you come back with a good comeback, that's a retort. Now that would fit here. Now, we had retorts in school chemistry. They were sort of stands. And if you train a plant, you make it grow up to a sort of a longer stand that you've put up. So maybe there's a retort something. But I don't know that phrase. If you know a phrase that is 6-6 and begins with retort, you probably have the answer to this. And it might be both a prerequisite for training a plant to grow, I'm guessing a bit there, and a phrase that would imply something you can use when making a witty riposte. Okay, I'm going to try 4 down, which is the only other check letter I've got to work with. Oh no, I've got 10 down as well. But 4 down says, Time rejected article about conflict zone. A beautiful surface suggesting that the magazine Time has refused an article about a war zone. Very apt, sadly, at the moment, but Time can be the letter T. Article can be a or the indefinite or definite articles, or an. Conflict. So the theatre of war is sometimes called an arena in another performing arts metaphor. Could arena work here? Time rejected could be era, going backwards. Then article about could be an turned around, and then we get arena put together. So I think that's the answer. Now, 3 across. Cook frequently repelled by religious leaders' salad. Lovely surface suggesting a chef who just doesn't like a religious leader's mixing of a salad, but I doubt that that's what's going on. Cook frequently, or could be the definition. Frequently could be often or oft. Religious leader. Rabbi. Now, there are priests, there are parsons, there are many words for religious leaders, first in Christianity, then you could go to imams and rabbis and gurus, but rabbi is useful because this could begin rabbit. Now, how does that work? Religious leader, rabbi, frequently repelled, oft turned round, and you've got TFO. I was thinking rabbit foot, but maybe rabbit food. Do oft is cook frequently. That gets repelled, i.e. turned around and put beside rabbi, and you end up with rabbit food, which is, I guess, a disparaging term for salad. And yeah, I'm not averse to complaining about salad and rabbit food myself. I have not used the term rabbit food. I tend to use the term waste of plate space. Right, 5 down. Doctor in Cabal is connected to church. Now, here we have a word that crossword solvers will get more familiar with. Doctor can be used in the verbal sense of really affect something badly. If you doctor something, if you doctor a drink, you might poison it or put a drug in it. If you doctor an animal, you might castrate it, perhaps. So it really implies messing around with something in that sense. So the next 3 words in this clue after doctor have a total of 9 letters in, including a B. So if we were to doctor them, can we get a word meaning connected to church? And in Cabal is an anagram of basilican. A basilica is a huge Catholic cathedral, and basilican is the adjective formed from that. Right, I'm going to jump on to 7 across. I've got a better percentage of the checking letters than I have in 7 down is what I'm looking at. I have a better percentage of the letters than in 6 down, and it's a phrase, which does sort of sharpen the pencil a bit in terms of what could fit here. So 7 down says, unrequited love, always behind novel. Unrequited. Love that is unrequited is kind of one way. Is that a possible... Can we find the wordplay to make this one way? We can. Love can be O, which is a reference to kind of the tennis score, 0. Always can be I, spelled either A-Y-E or A-Y. And if you put that behind the word new, which obviously means novel, not in the nounal sense, but in the adjectival sense, you get one way. Going to try 8 down. Similarly, 6 letters, begins with a D. We don't have a phrase this time. Hopeless player joining band on keyboards. Well, hopeless player in cricket could be a rabbit, but we've already had a rabbit in this puzzle, so we're not going to get another one. So let's have a look at joining band on keyboards. Now, Simon often tells us, and it surprises me, how almost universally correct he is, that every puzzle includes a hidden answer, where the answer is in plain sight in the clue, but it's just part of a phrase. And what word is joining the phrase band on keyboards? Well, if we have used that beginning D, we can see it's donkey is hidden in there. So can a donkey be a hopeless player? Yes, I remember when Tony Adams used to be regarded as a donkey, but he wasn't a hopeless player. It was just an insult by opposing fans. Anyway, a donkey is a slang term for a hopeless player, particularly in football. Bad at kicking, I think, is the implication. Right, 11 across. We've got S at the beginning, E something N at the end. actor in theatre to increase performing. So they surface very clearly about some thespian treading the boards of the stage and going to do more work. But actor and theatre, we already saw that theatre, when we were considering 4 down, could be the battle theatre, but there's another theatre, and that's the operating theatre. And who acts in the operating theatre? A surgeon, particularly. Other people do too, but especially the surgeon. To increase is to surge, and performing is on, so we've put together the parts for a surgeon. Right, I'm going to skip across now. Let's do the next across. 12 across. This is the Spooner one. Spooner's excellent dance routine in pool. Ah, now I mistook this. I thought we were looking for a phrase meaning excellent dance routine, and we were going to mess with the opening letters and get a word meaning pool. Now I think instead we're looking for a phrase meaning excellent dance, and then we will mess with that and get a phrase meaning routine in pool. And the reason I'm thinking about that is because this looks like it could be back crawl, which is another word for backstroke. And if we mess with the opening sounds of back crawl, we get crack ball, which is an excellent dance routine. Crack, like a crack shot, is an adjective for excellent. Crawl, ball is a formal dance, and we have put together our Spoonerism. Right, skipping across to 13 across. Saw commercial agency losing half its members. Now, saw here is playing tricks on us. Saw, obviously, in normal everyday usage is the past tense of see. You will be aware that a saw can also be a tool for cutting wood, but there is a third meaning of saw, which is much less regularly used, and that's in the phrase old saw. It could be a proverb or adage. And we're always looking for these short synonyms. Crossword solvers will be very familiar with the word adage, which is a saw. Commercial can be ad for an advertisement. And if the word agency loses half its members, the members are the letters that make up agency in this case, it reduces to age and we get adage. Okay, we've got a lot of letters for 6 down now. That first word could be, I don't know, terrapin, threaten. Neither of those begin phrases, so probably not those. Let's have a look at this. 6 down. Did career supply other use cases for property? Now, I'm thinking property and I'm thinking terrace. Terrace is short for a terraced house, and that would fit here. Did career. So let's break it up. Rather than did a career supply, let's actually think of did career. To career is to run crazily or to race. So did career could be raced. Supply other use cases. So raced is to supply or go into an anagram of other use. So this is one of the cases, and this often happens, where we read supply, but that's the incorrect reading. We have to actually interpret it as supply, in a supple manner or in a flexible manner. And that gives us the right to alter the letter appearance of other use. So it's supply other use, which encloses did career, which is raced, and that all gives us terraced house. I mean, it is beautifully constructed, that clue. You just can't read it as raced that supply other use cases until you really break it down, but it is perfectly expressing what it's saying. Now, let's go back to 14 across. The prerequisite for training. Now, I was wondering about retort. I'm still not convinced about that. For training when making a comeback. I don't know what this is. I might have to get that letter in 15 down so that I can work out what the second part of this is. Let's move on to 18 across. Looks like in the or on the in the middle. Give up television for emergent source of entertainment. Beautifully phrased again, but what does it mean? It's quite a short clue for a long phrase, so probably not that much wordplay going on, probably a sort of punning definition, especially given the question mark. Give up. So if you give in or... Okay, television. British slang for television includes set, telly, but also box. The box is the TV. Jack in the box. If you jack in watching the box, that's giving up television perhaps. But an emergent source of entertainment, a jack in the box is a source of entertainment where something emerges. That is the whole point of it. Beautiful, beautiful deconstruction of the phrase jack in the box by Jason there. Right, let's see if we can get this 15. It looks like make or take to begin this phrase. That's my first thought. Look like opinion, having less sense, lacks depth. Look like. If you make like someone, do you look like them? No, you act like them. Look like, seem as, opinion. Oh, an opinion can be a take these days. My take on it is this. Oh, if you take after a relative, you look like them or act like them, but mostly look like them. Having less sense, dafter, lacking D for depth from physics, and you take after. Right, this is not retort. This is going to be return ticket. So that is a prerequisite. Why for for getting on the train. You need your return ticket before you get on the train. So training means getting on a train here. I didn't expect that. I didn't see it coming. But no, this is just a cryptic definition. This is a prerequisite for getting on the train when you're planning to come back. So my retort business was all misleading you, not deliberately, but accidentally. And feel free to make your retorts to me about that in the comments. Right, 10 down. Like particular books, encapsulating author's determination. Well, let's break this down. Like could be as. Particular could be certain. Ascertain something. I'm thinking ascertainment. And then books could be NT for New Testament. That's a set of books. And if as certain NT encapsulate me, the author, that's how we get ascertainment. I wouldn't necessarily have known that ascertainment was the noun from ascertain. I would have guessed that if there was one, it would be that, I think. Now, shall we try 16 and 17? Might not normally, but the B and the X are very suggestive letters, so we will have a look at these. 16 down, sailor and German soldier showing up everywhere. Well, everywhere can be ubiquitous. So maybe we should be thinking about ubiquity. But I'm not thinking about ubiquity because the letters in that don't really suggest anything to do with sailors and German soldiers. They're very difficult letters to use. A sailor, on the other hand, can be AB, which is the classic abbreviation for an able seaman. So we probably begin with AB and German soldier. Well, let's break that down again. And German might be telling us the word and in German. And I think that's und, U-N-D. Abund, and that's suggesting abundance to me. And a soldier can be an ant because it is actually one of the definitions of soldier is one of the types of ant. And there is, I think, an ant called a soldier ant. So abundant means showing up everywhere. Let's try 17 down with the X. I'll be astonished if we don't start with an E here, but let's see what happens. Better training drills ruled out. That's a very short clue. to better. Is that what we're looking for? Training drills could be exercise, but that's in the middle of the clue. That's not where we want the definition to be. Ruled out, expunged or something. I mean, U would be a very difficult letter to have at the end of 22 across, so that's not likely, but there might be another word like expunged. Better, to excel, might be to better something. Better training drills. Oh, so this is another one of Jason's using the grammar to surprise you. If training, which can be an abbreviation like PE, maybe even PT, if that drills into a word meaning better, yeah, we could put PT into exceed. So excel was close but wrong. PE was not quite right for training, but PT, physical training, is. And that gives us accepted, which is with one thing ruled out if it's accepted. Goodness. Okay, that's good. Now, 22 across. Again, we could guess at this letter. I'm sure it'll be a C. Is this going to be a Q before the U? Don't know. Let's have a look at the clue. Issue demanding answer for leader's wealth. Affluence would fit, and that would be wealth. Now, why would that be issue demanding answer? Is it something to do with... yeah, there are other words that end in fluence, and I was thinking of influence, which is a word in popular use. A word in less popular use is effluence, which nonetheless does mean something that is issued, something that flows out. I think flux is the Latin for flow, and these fluence words are all derived from that. So effluence is now demanding the letter A, which can be an abbreviation for answer, as its leader. And that turns effluence into affluence, which means wealth, being affluent. 23 down begins with an F. Unsatisfactory compromise that's annoying. Now, that exclamation mark, a novice clue writer will use that just because they think they've come up with something pretty clever. Jason won't. Jason will only use an exclamation mark because he's using something in the clue that demands an exclamation mark, and that will be kind of an interjection or an expostulation. And there are quite a few expostulations for that's annoying, like oh and darn and ugh. And I am thinking about ugh here. UGH, could this be FAUGH? No, I doubt it. So, unsatisfactory. Oh, fudge is an unsatisfactory compromise, and fudge is also an aphetic word for an F-bomb that people use to avoid swearing, but it also means that's annoying. Oh, fudge. So, 25 across. Cadet is shaped and moulded. This is a straight anagram. Shaped is the anagram indicator. We're going to anagram the letters of cadet is. We're going to get an answer that means moulded, and that is die cast. The die is cast. Right, 27 across. Acknowledgements of liabilities ignored by painstaking boss. Acknowledgements of liabilities. This is something very good to learn if you're in a crossword setting. A note of a debt is an IOU. Pluralize that, you've got IOUS, and that is the ending of an awful lot of words in English. Now here, painstaking is ignoring its IOUS, and we're getting a boss. But that boss is not the manager. It's not the head of a company. It is a boss that you would get on a shield or a door. It's a stud, something that stands out a bit. And that's obviously the origin of where the term boss for a manager came from. So studious is the word for painstaking. We take off the IOUs and we get stud. Now, let's try 26 across. Stud, of course, is where Disco Stew comes from in The Simpsons, because Homer ran out of space on the back of his jacket to write disco stud and became disco stew, which is very funny. Right, 26 across. One with no chance of success is sweet. Okay, I don't know what this is straight away. Let's have a think about it. Sweet can mean a dessert, an afters course. It could also, what else could sweet mean? It could be a term of endearment. There might be other things that it can be, but I can't think of them. One with no chance of success is a failure or a goner, or is there a 10-letter word for somebody with no chance of success? A non-starter? I would normally have put a hyphen in that, but there may be a version without a hyphen in the dictionary they're using. Why would a sweet be a non-starter? Because it is not the first course in the restaurant, it's the last course. The starters are the first course, sweets are the last course. I think that must be right. Now, we've got a 5-letter word ending in N, a 6-letter word ending in N, another 6-letter word ending in N, and there's a lot of words that do that. There's also a lot of words that end in ENT or even ECT, but we'll have a look at 24 across. Vulnerable individual, recruited for experiment. Well, I'm looking at the last bits of that, and for can translate to pro, and experiment can translate to test, and protest is a valid word. However, I don't think that protest means vulnerable individual recruited. So I don't think that's the right answer, although the wordplay could perfectly give that. Well, that may not be the wordplay. In fact, there are probably more words in the wordplay. However, I think the definition probably starts at the beginning of this clue. Vulnerable individual. So what is a vulnerable individual? A suspect? Not quite. If we keep going with test, contest? No, I'm afraid I don't know the answer to that. We will have to come back to it. Hopefully we can get some checking letters. Let's try the 5-letter word first, 21 across. American firm runs new plant to begin with. Well, plant to begin with could be the letter P, as we've sort of seen as we've gone along, but that doesn't really work here. American firm, US co, runs can be the letter R, N can be the letter N. So maybe we need an actual American firm and then RN, plant to begin with. So maybe we're looking at a bud or a seed, which is the beginning of a plant. Something ending in RN. Again, I do not know that. It could mean to plant as a seed. I don't know. American firm. Is there an... I mean, American firm is so vague. American can be the letter A, R, and firm can be co. And then we could get ACORN, and acorn is a plant to begin with, specifically an oak tree. Begins from from little acorn. No, what's the Pope phrase? Mighty oaks from little acorns grow, something like that. Used to be quoted on the Trivial Pursuit box. Maybe I've made that up. 19 down, 2 members of family tree. Right, I reckon we're looking for 2 members of the family here. And dad would fit at the beginning, pa, ma. That's quite a few straight away. I probably haven't thought of all the possibilities. But what can go at the end? Kin, yes, catkin. It's something that grows on a tree, but it's not a tree. Also, I don't think a kin is a member of the family. So maybe son. Can we think of a tree that goes something A, something son? S-O-N. And I can't. So I'm struggling again. This corner's proving very difficult. 20 down, we'll try that. Sweet note, well conveyed by blessing. Well, here's sweet again. Is it a dessert again? Or would Jason not do that twice? So what did I say it could also be last time? A term of endearment. Hun, or H-O-N for honey, or bonbon. That's the French word for a sweet, bonbon, that has made its way into English. Now, how would that work? Bonbon. Note well. Oh, that's beautifully phrased. So to see how Jason has hidden note well in this clue, which reads like sweet note, well conveyed by blessing. But what we actually have to break this down as is note well, which is NB. If you see that in a text, it stands for the Latin phrase nota bene, which literally means note this well. Nota bene. And that is being conveyed by boon, which is a blessing. It is an absolute boon. And therefore, bonbon is the sweet we're looking for. Now, at 24 across, subject would fit. This works, and entirely not in the way I was thinking. So, yes, we decided that protest would work as an answer for wordplay for experiment. But that is not how the clue breaks down at all. This is actually just a double definition clue. We break it after vulnerable. So if you are vulnerable to something, you are subject to it. So that is one of the definitions, just an adjective. Subject translates as vulnerable. The rest of the clue, an individual recruited for an experiment, you are the subject of that experiment. And that is a double definition. Now, we've had two J's in the puzzle and an X. I don't think we're looking at a pangram. I haven't seen a Q or a Z to speak of. And we can't fit them both into 19 down. Where parson or raisin would fit. Two members of family tree. Now, I mean, this is just making me think that the son must go at the end of this. What is the member of the family that could go before it? Well, I mentioned pa and ma, meaning father and mother. There are other words for mother. And one of them, especially in a racehorse context, is dam. Your sire and your dam. And I think in Shakespeare and maybe even in other language, that gets translated into humans as well. So not that this clue specifically says it's about humans. But dam and son gives us damson. Now, I'm aware of damson as a fruit used in jams and things. I presume it is grown, I would have presumed anyway it's grown on a tree, although I wouldn't have known that for definite. But I believe damson can be a tree. So we'll just have a quick look at the grid. I think we've got everything. There's nothing I'm really dubious about. And that seems to be today's puzzle done. So well done if you've got some of those ahead of me. Oh no, I was going to go back to 9 across, wasn't I? Who doesn't appreciate attempt to avoid usual price? And I was assuming this was breaking down as an attempt avoiding usual to give ing and then price as rate. The going rate, though, the going rate is the usual price. And a go is an attempt. If you have a go, you make an attempt. So if we remove go from going rate, we get ing rate. That is how that clue breaks down. And that's very satisfying to go back and work out the only clue that we had not exactly. Again, maybe you had figured it out, I hadn't. Beautifully phrased. I mean, literally every clue here phrased to not only to perfectly deliver the answer, not only to use exact synonyms wherever possible, but also to mislead you about what the clue is doing almost every time. So, just to take random clues. Stingy individual turned out to be a stingy individual. The chef, appalled by the salads, was in fact a definition of salad was required there. The usual price had to be put together as a phrase. actor in theatre was someone acting in the theatre. Anyway, I'll be back in a moment and have a go at the quick crossword. Yes, there we go. Actually, a well-timed delivery. Now, I am going to, as I say, have a go at the quick cryptic. You can look at any of those clues again and just admire the workmanship that goes into them. And I will tell you that writing clues like this is the product of A, great experience, B, great imagination, and C, a lot of time. I wouldn't like to guess how long Jason has spent on average on each clue, but I bet you it's a lot longer than you would expect. We get a lot of puzzles sent to us by people who've compiled their first cryptic, and you know they like our opinion. They maybe even hope it'll be featured on the channel. Well, until you've got hundreds of puzzles behind you and thousands of hours of clue writing experience, thousands of clues, you just won't write clues that are this good, and each one will have been polished and polished till it was as good as it could be. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, let's have a look at the quick cryptic, and with much less explanation, I'm just going to try and... Oh no, hang on. The first thing, let's go back to that puzzle and let's see how people were doing. My estimation of the difficulty is, for a Friday puzzle, not too bad. Now, I mean, I certainly struggled. I struggled a bit in the southwest corner. I was stuck on return ticket. I had to keep coming back to a few of these. But overall, I think this is quite manageable, and the times of the experts. So when we find actual genuine solvers here who aren't just morons who have solved the puzzle and then written it, typed it in. We see Jason at 8 minutes, Verlaine at 9.5 minutes, Andy Fisher at 12 minutes 40. I don't recognize the other names. They will be genuine times from basically the 8 minutes onwards, I think. But those guys are very good solvers, and that's interesting. That's not quite as quick as I expected, and corrects me about my belief about how difficult this puzzle was. I thought not too bad, but actually I would have found, if I'd been going through it myself, that it was harder than I expected. Whipbird at 1 down would definitely have given me pause, because it's not a phrase I know. What are the really hard ones here? Not so much the ones I'm looking at in the downs on the right. Certainly that bottom left corner was difficult. Damson especially. That could really hold you up a lot under pressure. Back crawl, I took a long time about. Return ticket, I just wasn't understanding that was a brilliant cryptic definition, which is a clue where it says exactly what it means, but it takes you a while to interpret the sentence in that way. Anyway, right, now we will go for the quick cryptic and just try and fly through it, see how we do. Try and set a good time here. So let's get cracking on this one. I glance around. That's an anagram at 1 across. Good to get that. Dojo is a hidden at 5. So 1 down. Arc. Yes. Homophone. Sugar from Greek island. Is that Curacao? No, I don't think so. Don't know what it is. 3 down. Really like lap up, being ahead in a circuit race. Option of frozen desserts. Don't know. Editor backed DE. Rival is foe. That's an author. Cheese left in pots on ice. Jars? Don't know why. Right. Ice cap, presumably. No. Scrump. In old make of car, O Ford, and we put a cross in that. Sharp-billed birds, spooked crew at sea. Oh, right, let's try the downs again. Sugar, glucose, cos in glue. 4 down. Options of frozen desserts. Choices, chalk ices, corrected. Cheese left. Oh, Jarlsberg. Sorry about the pronunciation if you're German. Right. Woodpeckers. They are sharp-billed birds, and it's an anagram. Children of similar ability. Equals, peers, don't know what that is. Tot and this writer start to relish hot weather. Don't know. 14 across. Ringing home good following argument. Oh my goodness, I don't know. 9 down. Record comic sketch. Outskirts of Hamilton are H and N. Oh, drawn, withdrawn. Yes, that works. Okay. 10 across. Children of similar ability. I don't know. Ringing home good following argument. Ringing. Ding-donging? Yes, ding-dong is the argument. Goodness me. Didn't know that was a verb. Right. Bleak nobleman. Baron. That's another homophone. You are entering end of chess game is mate, so mature. Formerly working once. Further dancer represented with ultimate energy. It's got to be an anagram of dancer with Y. Further, oh, I don't know. Why don't I know that? I bet it ends in Y. I bet it ends in Y. Crazy about an elevated lady in artwork. Madonna. Mad honor. Yeah, okay. Wet items on ground. That's an anagram. Moisten. Tender calves running. Nurse for tender. It's hidden again. 26 down. Identified fellow climbing English peak in danger. This is going to be Ray. Ardency. I couldn't do that. Anagram in my head. Stream is the children of similar ability. And summer. Some and me. There we go. 3.5 minutes. Not too bad, but not too good either. And there we go. Anything to particularly notice in the grid? I don't. There are very occasionally Ninas. Something about summer is suggesting there might be one to me here. I don't know why. No, I don't think there's any Ninas there. And Nina being a hidden sort of some Easter egg in the puzzle. But there we go. Thank you so much for watching our masterclass. We'll be back with another one next Friday. Now, if you are interested in very hard crosswords, today is the day I have posted the monthly attempt at the Club Monthly Special on Patreon, and do check it out. Thank you so much for watching. See you soon.